Alright guys, today I'm going to take you to school. Cooking class actually, and teach you how to make calibrated ballistic gelatin right in the comfort of your own home. Then we'll get that gel out into the country and put some high-speed cameras on it and hit it with Nielsen Specialty Ammo 30 caliber hollow point airgun slugs. And we'll do it all out of the new 2025 spec Karma Red Panda 100 foot-pound of energy airgun. Alright, let's go look. Coming up. AEAC is made possible by Air Venturi, Hawk Sport Optics, Diana Airguns, FX Airguns, Sabre Tactical, Hudson USA, Leapers UTG Pro, Zan Projectiles, Air Marksman, and Predator JSB Match Diablo. And you guys know the best way to thank them. Alright guys, you're going to need some basic supplies. You'll want a suitable container to house your ballistic gelatin soup. I bought these at the Container Store. They're 2 liters each. The 3-liter size also works well. In fact, the 3-liter size is probably better for the larger calibers. And you'll want at least 3 of them so that you don't get over penetration and lose your projectile out the backside. You do want a really big measuring cup. This one's 32 ounces. You'll want some non-linting shop towels. You'll want a really big ass pot. Your gelatin you can buy off Amazon. I found this Super Clear brand years ago. It doesn't seem to exist anymore. The Knox brand gelatin will work just as well. It'll just be more amber in color. Just search for transparent gel or clear gel and hopefully you'll find something that works for you. You'll want some olive oil. You'll need some cinnamon oil. You'll need a digital temperature gauge. You'll want a spatula that looks just like this and a long wooden spoon. Okay, so what's the premise behind calibrating your ballistic gelatin so that it's fairly true to life? Well, the FBI came up with a formula and it's this. You want to be able to fire a steel BB into a block of gelatin at approximately 600 feet per second, give or take 10 feet per second, and have that BB penetrate approximately 3.5 to 3.7 inches. If you've accomplished that, then you've got a ballistic gelatin that fairly resembles animal tissue. And that's a good thing, and that's what we want. And that's with a 10% gel mix. Now, the problem with a 10% gel mix is that that calibration was done at around 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you take your gel block out into the real world and put it in the sun, put it outside here in Tampa, Florida, and it starts to bake and cook and melt and get warm, your calibration goes right out the window and you're no longer true to life. So what I've done is come up with a more realistic gel concentration that you'll be able to use in the real world, and that's 14%. I've come up with that 14% through lots of trial and tribulation, lots of hard work where I'm actually working outside in Florida, cooking in the kitchen, coming from the fridge to outside, and I'm still getting that FBI calibration of 600 feet per second and a penetration of 3 to 3.7 inches. Okay, so how do we arrive at 14% gel consistency? Easy. We want 1 part powdered collagen to 7 parts water. What that means to you is you want to use approximately 30 ounces of gelatin powder in 6 liters of water. If you can do that, you're going to be right in the ballpark. Even if you chill it down to 35 or 40 degrees like we're supposed to do, and then take that out into the country out of an ice chest, stick it out there, let it sit there for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes while you're setting up your cameras like I'm going to be doing, and it'll still be pretty darn close. All right, so let's get to cooking. So I know that I want to make 3 of these ballistic gelatin tubs, and they're each 2 liters. There's a really convenient mark right up here at the top. And so I want to add exactly 6 liters of water to my cooking pot here. So I'm just going to simply fill each tub up to that 2-liter mark. And by the way, guys, you want really cold water for this. The coldest water you can get. Doesn't mean you need to use ice or anything like that. You just don't want it warm, and I'll get into why later. Okay. That's 4 liters. All right. So now we're at 6 liters. Into the stove we go. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to start incorporating our 30 ounces of gelatin powder into our 6 liters of water. Try to take your time and be as accurate as you can with this. All right. Now it's important not to dump it in all at once. You want to slowly incorporate it as you're stirring. Otherwise, the gelatin or the powdered part of the gelatin is going to start to clump when it gets into the water, and we don't want that. This step is called hydrating the gelatin. Now I haven't applied any heat yet. All I'm doing is slowly incorporating these collagen crystals in with the water. Almost done. What you'll notice is as the water gets thicker and thicker with the collagen, the more those gel crystals are going to want to clump up on you. And so it's more important that you're more careful as you go rather than right out of the gate. So this part gets a little bit tough. While these crystals hydrate, I'm going to stir this for a good 10 minutes like you see me doing here, because you don't want to start applying heat until those crystals are fully hydrated. And it does get thick, which is kind of tough on the wrist and fingers. But it is what it is. You got to pay to play. All right, so this is an important step. You'll notice on the inside of the cooking pot there are crystals, and they're also kind of caked up here on the top of your stirring spoon. Once this is heated and clear, we don't want those crystals falling down into our clear mix, because that's going to muck up what it looks like when we form it into a gel block. So that spatula I was talking about earlier that looks like this, we want to take that spatula and just get all of this crystalline goop off the top of our spoon so it doesn't fall in here later on and cause us problems. Okay, and we also want to get that off of the side of the pot. This may not be super critical to you, but for a guy like me who's trying to capture it on film and have it look right, this is an important step. I want that gel as crystal clear as I can get it. All right. Now we're going to begin to incorporate heat into the mixture, and this is a very important step because heating this to no more than 104 degrees is very important to that calibration being very specific to what that FBI wants to mimic animal flesh or tissue. And so what that means to you, as we're slowly bringing this up from it's probably around 80 degrees right now, which is our tap water in Florida in the summertime, and we slowly bring that up to 104, I want to be cognizant that at the bottom here, it's going to be a lot warmer than everywhere else. And also at the bottom, I don't want to allow to exceed 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So what that means is that I gotta constantly be stirring this while I'm heating it. And I'm going to be stirring it, gosh, it's been some years since I've made this stuff, but it's a good half hour or so, maybe 40 or 50 minutes as I'm slowly bringing that temperature up to 104. And as I do, this crystalline goop will begin to become very transparent and clear as that water and those crystals fully integrate with one another. All right, 90 degrees has come really fast from 85, so it's probably a good time to back that 7 down to like a 3. Because it's super easy to overshoot that 104, to come up on it and blow right through it. And you'll get what I mean when you start making this stuff for yourself. You really want to approach it slowly so that you don't cook it and mess things up for yourself. One nice thing about your mixture warming up is as it approaches 100 degrees and it starts to kind of warm and gel, it becomes like stirring water, and that's always a welcome thing at this point. So now we've broken through 100 degrees, so we've only got 4 more to go. So the patience has played off for us. If I were to rush this, we would have just smashed through that 104 ceiling and it would have been game over. So real time, I'm maybe 20 minutes into this, so it'll be probably about 30 minutes, and that's not bad. Now you're going to look down at your mixture and you're going to say, man, that doesn't look very clear, and that's okay right now. It's just going to look this way for now because it's filled with all these little micro bubbles, and those will come out as you let the gel sit up over time once we move it to the containers. All right, 103.6, 103.8, 103.9. All right, there it is, 104. So let's remove from our heat source. Okay, so at this juncture, I like to add cinnamon oil. What cinnamon oil is going to do for us is a couple of things. One, it's going to act as a preservative because this is gelatin. And if we take it outside, it's going to get nasty quick. And what that means to us is it's going to lose its clarity. And I want to be able to reuse this mixture a couple of times over. And I'll show you how I do that. And a key part to that is getting that cinnamon oil preservative in there. The cinnamon oil is actually also going to help get the bubbles out, and it's going to make it smell good too, and those are all good things. So with the cinnamon oil, I like to use 1 drop per 3 liters, and there's only 6 liters of water in here, so that means 2 drops. One and 2. All right. We'll stir that in. Make sure it's good and mixed through your gelatin soup. All right, now it's time to pour our mixture into our containers and make our gel blocks. Okay guys, this is where your olive oil and shop towels are going to come into play. So we want to coat these containers with a very, very small amount of olive oil, almost like you're waxing your car, because it's all you need, because we don't want this olive oil discoloring our beautiful clear ballistic gel. But we also want it to pop out of this tub well, so. All right, let's set all of this out of the way. We want lots of working room for this part. I'm actually going to spin these around so that you guys can see what a nice final product we wind up with here. All right, now we've got 6 liters in here and 3 2-liter tubs, so the idea is to distribute what's in here in these 3 tubs as evenly as possible. And you're going to pour, and don't worry if you get bubbles. Those will settle out over the next few hours here. All right, that's looking pretty darn good, and let me show you what I mean. Okay, so that's pretty close to your finished product. Now, we're going to let this sit just like this for the next 3 hours before we move it into the fridge. Now, the worst thing that you can do is to let this sit for an hour and then get excited and move it into the fridge, because this liquid gel will become like partly solidified as it cools. And then if you move it too early, it kind of becomes like an ice slurry. And you'll see that in your gel, and you won't have a nice clear block of glass anymore. You'll have a clear block of glass with a distorted mess inside of it. So be disciplined and leave this just like this for a full 3 hours, and then move it into the refrigerator overnight. All right, guys, first up, NSA 47.2 grain. Guys, if you're new here, that readout in the lower right-hand corner of your viewing screen is Doppler radar. It'll track our NSA slug from the muzzle all the way to the target and share with us a plethora of information along the way, of which we'll get into in a moment. Right. Let's go take a look. Guys, here's the flight data as captured by the FX True Ballistic Chronograph Doppler Radar Chrony. Departing foot-pounds of energy was 95, impacting with 79.3 50 yards downrange. Muzzle velocity was 952 feet per second. 50-yard impact velocity was 870. Average ballistic coefficient measured across the 50 yards was 0.091. All right, got a solid capture. Penetration 11 1/4 inches. Before we move on to the next impact, guys, let me get you walked around the Red Panda quick. All right, guys, now the Karma Red Panda comes to us from the Donnie FL Saber Tactical Pellet Shop Ring. It was developed here in the United States by pro staff shooters, and final assembly is done right here in sunny Florida over at the Donnie FL headquarters in Orlando. The parts themselves are machined in China. Now the 2025 spec Karma Red Panda measures 45.5 inches long and weighs in at a deliberate 22.6 pounds as you see it here, full of air and with a scope and bipod. By itself and full of air, it weighs 18.2 pounds. The rifle itself takes advantage of M18x1 threads carved into the muzzle so that you can affix your favorite moderator. A first of its kind 1-in-24 twist bull barrel, a non-baffled shroud, a massive 700cc air reservoir spread across 3 chambers that is refillable to 300 bar, a big 70cc plenum that rides along next to the main air tube, and 2 externally adjustable 193 bar regulators. Designed to work in tandem with those 2 regs is an externally adjustable hammer spring dial and readout, and a well-marked transfer port adjuster. The whole thing is nestled into an insanely rigid Saber Tactical-like chassis, touting loads of M-LOK, Picatinny, and Arca Swiss rail real estate. It's even got 30 MOA built into the receiver. The gun takes advantage of slick side lever cocking, 3 pressure gauges, 2 for the regulators and 1 for fill pressure, an incorporated bubble level, a very adjustable dual stage match grade trigger, a vertical saber grip with removable thumb pad, an adjustable comb, butt pad, length of pull, and bag rider. Oh, and you even get 2 ultra nice all metal magazines. All right, NSA 49.5s. Man, it is hot out. Okay, here we go. Guys, for my full review of the Red Panda, to include a custom 100 foot-pound universal tune that works great for both pellets and slugs, as well as 8 filmed 100-yard groups, click here. All right, let's go look. All right, the 49.5s ran with an average ballistic coefficient of 0.092. Leaving foot-pounds of energy was 98, and arriving foot-pounds of energy was 82. Muzzle velocity was 944 feet per second, retaining 864 of that 50 yards away. Wow. Look at the mushroom on that guy. Woo! Penetration 5 and, well, let's call it 6 inches. Whew. NSA 54.5s. If you like the science-y teaching stuff, guys, I've got loads of it. Just click the video tab here on my YouTube page and enjoy. All right. Okay, the NSA 54.5s took off at 900 feet per second and landed at 837. Muzzle energy was 98 foot-pounds and 50-yard energy was 84.8 foot-pounds. Average ballistic coefficient along its journey was 0.105. Look at that, another mushroom at 900 feet per second. Didn't expect that. Penetration 6 inches. All right, getting into the heavyweights, 61.5 grain. Man, the heat index is already over 100 degrees. Whew. It's a lot of 50-yard running to keep that gel cold. Oh, okay, deep breath. Thank goodness for this breeze. Ah, perfect. Let's go look. The 61.5s flew an average ballistic coefficient of 0.121. They left at 844 feet per second and arrived at 797. Exiting foot-pounds of energy was 97.3, and entering foot-pounds of energy was 86.7. Oh yeah, look at that shroom. That's a surprise at that velocity. Wow, penetration too. Wow, it shook the whole caravan. Penetration right at 8 inches. Wow. For optics today, I'm shooting the brand new Integrix scope by Leapers. It's a 4.5 to 27 by 56 first focal plane. They also sent me a 3 to 18 by 44 FFP. This is a $2,800 and $1,700 scope respectively, and is by far the nicest scope I've ever put my eyes through, smashing my rule of always having kept my shared scopes here in the $400 to $800 price point. But it's an appropriate fit for the Red Panda. This is a rifle that's designed to win when big money's on the line, and most all of those guys are running scopes in this price point. So when Leapers brought it up at SHOT Show in January, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I've got just the gun. So I won't bore you with how everything on it works marvelously, and how the view through it is stunningly bright and clear everywhere, and no matter the conditions and how you have it set. Just know that it's better than even all that. And any words I can come up with just won't do it justice. Another slug that performed is the proudly made in USA Nielsen Specialty Ammo 65.5 grain slug. What was surprising wasn't that it performed, as this brand often does for me, but that it stabilized at a relatively low 815 to 820 feet per second. I've seen that before too, it just isn't common, but the barrel in the Red Panda gets it done. 9 out of 10 sub MOA at 100, but our video is getting a little lengthy as is, so we'll keep moving on. The bipod I'm using today is the Accu FC4G2 Arca Spec QD. It's a total rock and belongs on a gun like this. It can be easily canted from left to right, but the Red Panda's extra wide chassis limits that somewhat. The legs have a built-in, shift-on-the-fly, spring-loaded, articulating leg feature that locks up super nice and tight, and is ultra rigid. And the replaceable screw-in rubber feet are big, wide, and ratcheting, and work great to dampen recoil. If you want to learn more about these made in USA Accu Precision bipods and accessories, check out my 2025 SHOT Show video Las Vegas. I spent quite a bit of time in their booth with them, and learned lots. They're a remarkable company.
We can.
Do it again. I want to see the little motor spin.
Of course.
Oh, look at that. Okay, last one. 65.5 grain. All right, let's go take a peeky poo. The 65.5s ran at 817 feet per second and made contact at 772. Leaving and arriving foot-pounds of energy were 97.1 and 86.7 respectively. Average ballistic coefficient on its journey was 0.119. Wow, look at that. Where'd it go? What the heck? Look at the penetration on the 65.5 because it didn't open and it's so heavy. 13 inches. Wow, is this all backwards of what a guy would expect? Just made it. All by 11:30. Welcome to Florida, folks. Welcome to Florida. All right, guys, if you want to reuse your gel blocks, you can. Simply rinse any crap you picked up off of them from having them out in the field and shooting them up. And then very slowly, like the lowest possible temperature that your cooktop will go, reheat them up to that 104 degrees. I'll put it on like 1 and just watch it over the next couple hours. I'll come out and stir it every once in a while and check the temperature. And then once you get it up to that 104, just pour it back in your blocks. Put it back in the fridge and you're good to go. Now you can do this a couple of times over at least. The key to keeping the gel clear over time is keeping it cold, so it's back in the cooler on the way home. And and then right after you're done reheating it, put it right back in the fridge, and it'll stay pretty clear for a weekish, and then the microbes will just start to eat it slowly, even though it's in your fridge, and it'll slowly begin to cloud up. But if you don't care about clarity, you can just keep using it and reheating it and using it and reheating it and so on and so forth. Well, that is all for today, guys. If you enjoyed cooking with me, please let me know in the comments down below and give this video a thumbs up. Special thanks to Nielsen Specialty Ammo, Karma Airguns, Leapers UTG Pro, Accu Bipods, and FX Airguns for getting all of this into my hands to review for you. You guys know the best way to thank them for that one. Now from here, y'all want to head on over to the Airgun Nation forum so that you can discuss Nielsen Specialty Ammo. I'll leave you a link on how to get there in the description down below. So with that, I'm Steve Shalley. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great week, everyone.